Hi, I'm Curious Vedanth, and welcome to season 7 of my show. Today's guest is Bharati, who is the CEO of the Federation of Indian Animal Protection Organizations, also known as FIAPO. Through her expertise in communication and resource mobilization, Bharati has strengthened more than 300 nonprofit organizations across South Asia and Africa. Hi, Bharati, welcome to my show.
Hi, Vedant. I'm so excited to be here. I've been listening to your work for some time, and I was very happy to meet you last year or the year before last. So, thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait to learn more about all of your different adventures, journeys, and anything that you have to teach me.
Wonderful. Look forward to it.
So, just starting off, could you tell me more about yourself? Like, what has your journey been so far?
Right. So I'm fundamentally, I see myself as a writer. Um, and I started my career in journalism, actually. And it happened because there was this newspaper, there is this newspaper called The Statesman in Kolkata. I used to live in Kolkata at the time. And they had an award called the Statesman Award for Rural Reporting. And I went to attend those awards and I saw a very, very well-known journalist called P. Sainath speaking. And P. Sainath reports on, he tells stories of marginalization and he tells stories of government, of botched development. And he's written this fantastic book called Everybody Loves a Good Drought. So when I heard him speak, I knew that, this is what I really wanted to do, tell stories of marginalization. But journalism personally was not very exciting for me because I was on the desk, I was doing writing and editing, rewriting and editing. So in 2001, at that time I was in Bangalore, I joined an agency, a support agency for nonprofits in communications and fundraising. And that set me on this journey of working with Dalit, Adivasi communities, LGBTQI communities, rain-fed farmers, rain-fed agriculture, and livelihoods. So, yeah, that's in short my journey. And the past 5 years have been about animal rights.
So, how did you transition from working with a newspaper to being the CEO of FIAPO?
Oh, yes. So I I really believe in the power that communication has, because it is not just a support function. It helps organizations to tell the stories of their work. We are able to tell the stories of the very important work that APOs do. And because I had a communications background, I really believed that communication and fundraising held the key to building a very strong animal protection movement. And as FIAPO, I really see that if every organization in the movement were able to tell its story very powerfully, and raise the money to do important work, then it would make for a very strong movement. So I think that there is a link. I don't see it as I'm still a writer, I'm still a communicator. I think it's just that I wear a very organizational hat, but what I'm doing is fundamentally the same. I'm talking to people like you.
So how do you think that organizations can like strengthen their organization and make sure that they get the amount of funds that they need to make a difference?
Right. So I think one of the things that there is the big problem is that NGOs in India, and this is not just true of animal protection organizations, but this is true of the majority of smaller and medium-sized NGOs in the country. They're not able to offer a viable career to people and to attract talent, to retain talent, and then to offer a strong career to people. And when you are able to do that and you're able to retain the best and brightest of minds, then I think you are really able to transform organizations. Organizations become stronger. So what communication is one such function. And I think every organization needs to be able to have strong communication. So, in that sense, if you're able to tell your story, if you're able to, for example, put out a good annual report that communicates your achievements, you will attract money. There is enough money in the ecosystem, but we need to be able to tell our story in a way that also attracts money. So, it's a little bit of a if you communicate well, you will raise money. But most often, organizations are not able to communicate well because of systemic inability to attract the right kind of talent.
So, since you just mentioned that the organizations usually find it hard to communicate effectively, can you tell me more about how your experience in resource mobilization and communications has helped and strengthened all the nonprofit organizations that you've worked with?
Yes. So I have worked with a variety of organizations, Dalit, like I said, organizations working with Dalit movements, Adivasi movements. So I'll give you one story. For a whole year, every month, I was going to Bihar, where I worked with 20 organizations that were headed by women. And when the first time that I went there, the women were all CEOs. They were all heads of their organizations, but they had absolutely no decision-making power. They would not. It was almost like they did not know how to switch on a computer, for example. So emails would be printed out by some man in the office and read out to them. So when you don't have the skills to turn on your own computer and read your own email and respond to your own email, it may seem like a very simple, basic thing, something that we take for granted now, right? We all just we use our phones to do this. But I've worked in times when these women CEOs of their organizations could not do that. But working with them, I used to go to uh, Patna every month and did a workshop on different aspects of organizational strengthening, part of which was communication. How do you raise funds? How do you diversify your sources of income? And in a year, we had all these women, the 20 women, they created a Google group at that point, which was the thing people did. And they created a Google group to collaborate with each other so that they could put forward joint proposals to funders. And just the simple act of empowering people to switch on their computers, read their mail, and write things and collaborate, putting people in touch with each other, has this impact of allowing all those 20 women to take charge of their organizations and raise funds. So, training, capacity building. I mean, capacity building is a very I think it's jargon. Nobody understands what it is, but it's fundamentally giving people the tools that they need to do their jobs well, right? So, yeah.
I mean, all those women must have been so thankful and so grateful that you were able to help them. But how does it feel for you seeing that with your help, they're now able to run their organizations much more properly?
Yes. So now the thing is that I did not do anything special for the women, right? It is, they always had the leadership qualities, the bravery that some of them have shown. They are all leaders of movements. They always had that they were leaders. I did not turn them into leaders or CEOs of their organizations. They are CEOs, they are women leaders. But what happens is that the system, our environment exploits our weak areas and does not allow us to fully become who we are. So, for example, if a person is, let us say, scared of talking, right? That person might be a fantastic leader in many, many ways, but once the environment realizes that talking in public is a difficult thing for this person, that becomes the point at which people start to say, oh, please don't speak at this function because you're not a good speaker. So our environment keeps reinforcing these messages to us, right? And saying, oh, you're not good at this, you're not good at this, you're not good at this. I think just to have somebody hold your hand and say, it's okay if you've never done it before, but you can start now. I think that is That is what I did. So I would like to think that I was a friend to those more than anything that I did professionally. I was a friend to all those 20 women at that point. Yeah. So it makes me very, very happy that I was able to help.
Yeah, that's really good. So, what do you personally think that people who may be facing similar situations, like people maybe telling them that, oh, you're not good at something or that you shouldn't do this, how do you suggest that people face it and face their fears and do something that they know that they're good at, but no one else thinks they are?
Yeah. So I can give you one example, which is that when I came to the animal protection movement, I did not know anything about animal laws. I did not know anything about policy change here that is required. I did not even know the problems that animals in India face. So when I came here, I think it was very natural for people to say, oh, she's not from the movement, right? And to be honest, I was terrified also, right? Because I've never done this before. I've never worked, I mean, I have worked as a consultant with, and I love animals to bits, and I have a strong background in rights movements, but I had never worked with animals before. So I worked very hard. So I read up. Every weekend was just spent reading up, all the cases that had been filed. I would read the petitions, I would read laws, I was constantly reading. So I think my I think all too often people think if they've been working for 20 years or 30 years, then they know stuff. But I really feel that it's good to be always a student and always to keep learning. And if you have that humility to keep learning, then you will be able to sort of become a better person than you were last year. And yeah, so that is really keeping on learning, I think, is and working really hard. Yeah.
That definitely sounds like some really good advice. I mean, I personally have also had some times where people have said that I may not have been good enough or I've witnessed other people, and I definitely think that this advice would help people a lot. And from what you've told me, I can already understand that it has helped people a lot. And I was also wondering from what you just told me, how did you transition from working in civil rights to working in the animal protection movement?
Yeah. So I mean, of course, I always had a strong belief in the rights of not just human beings, but all beings, really. And Peter Singer, whose book Animal Liberation is the first, was my first introduction to animal rights. He said in some interview somewhere that he's not a big lover of animals and he doesn't have any companion animals at home, but he has a strong belief in the dignity and rights of animals, right? So, though I loved animals because of my strong background in rights movements, I really believe that it doesn't matter whether a person loves animals or doesn't love animals. They have to believe in the dignity of every life. They have to believe in the value of every life. So I think animal rights was like a natural progression of my belief in the rights of the most marginalized. The second thing is that I have a very strong sort of connection to gender movements, and I see farmed animals as a gender issue because it is, if you look at it, it's the female cow that has um, 9 pregnancies in a lifespan of 10 to 11 years. It's the female hen that is injected, that's genetically modified to produce 300 eggs instead of 15 eggs. And it's the female of the species. And then the male chicks, on birth, they are, the egg-laying chicks, they are killed. So I really feel that the issue of animals is actually a gender issue. So, feminists and those who work on reproductive and sexual health and rights should actually be interested in what is happening to the female animals, what is happening to the male calf, what is happening to the male chick. So, I really don't see it as it's not like I've had a dramatic transition in career. I just see it as a natural progression of my belief in rights.
So what are some of the similarities and differences that you see between the civil rights movement and the animal protection movement?
Ah, yes. I feel that India has thousands and thousands of NGOs. A study that was done in the early 2000s put the number at some 1.5 million or something like that, which might be hugely exaggerated. But I see that there are a few organizations that are very large, and most organizations are very, very small. They don't have access. I've mentioned this before. I won't repeat myself. They don't have access to resources. They don't have access to people. They can't retain people. They don't have access to the tools of how can I do my work better? They don't have access to best practices. If they have, somebody might have started a shelter by saying, oh my gosh, there are all these animals in my neighborhood. I need to really take care of them because some of them are injured, some of them are very old. I need to take care of them. They may have started a shelter as a matter of accident almost, but they don't have access to how can I make the shelter better? What are the best practices? What are the best shelters in India doing? What are, somebody who started to sterilize the dogs around them doesn't may not have access to information on how do I really make sure that all the dogs in my area are sterilized? How do I get them vaccinated? So I think I sort of forgot your question, but I think that the connection that I see is the role of FIAPO as a federation is to bring together this knowledge, this help, this support. We don't claim to be experts in any of these issues, but we have access to experts. There are lots of organizations in the country who are doing extremely good training in animal birth control. There are lots of shelters in the country that are run really, really well. There are organizations that do an excellent job of cruelty case handling. How can we take these skills to that one organization run by four people that is struggling in some rural area of India? I think that is the purpose of FIAPO.
So what role in FIAPO do you play as the CEO?
Uh, I do everything. We don't go into a physical office, but yeah, there are times when I have oversight of communication. I raise the money for our work. I have oversight. I look at a lot of the work that we do on elephants. I work directly with the team. I have, because of my background in capacity building, I have a very strong interest in really identifying what are the gaps that animal protection organizations face. How can we work to fill those gaps? How can we support organizations better, serve organizations better? So a lot of the thinking right now, the most one of the most exciting things in my life is we're doing a Gen Z campaign aimed at Gen Z. Which I spend about 50% of my time on that. It's a social media campaign. It's about this cow that has escaped from a dairy called Tilly and who now does stand-up comedy. There is a pig that has escaped from a piggery, and he's now become a music producer. And there is a egg-laying hen, who has escaped, and she's become a celeb chef called Chutki. So Tilly, Bablu, and Chutki are not depending on human beings to tell their story, but they're telling their story through stand-up, through music, and through celeb chef episodes. So that's one of the most exciting things that I do. So I do a lot of things. Yeah, I work with the media. We have a media capacity building program where we build the capacity, where we work with media people to get uh, alter media perspectives on how they write about animal protection. Yeah, so lots of things, different,
Yeah, I
very
mean,
factored day.
they all sound really amazing, and and everyone, all the animals, everyone's really thankful that you're just doing so much to make sure that the animals are much safer and are treated better. But there was one
That's
thing
so
in what you
kind of
said that
you.
kind of stood out to me. Do you think that social media campaigns are the future of getting the newer generations to focus more on animal welfare?
So I would not say that they are the focus. Um, I think that attitudes change when you talk to people one on one, right? Um, I think that social media campaigns are great because they allow us to reach a large number of people, and they allow us to get our message across to large numbers of people. And given the fact that Gen Z is so much on social media, and I have a 9-year-old daughter who is not on social media, but at some point, Gen Alpha is going to be on social media. So I think social media is a very powerful medium, but there are also negatives, a lot of negatives, and we see this in the phenomenon of doom scrolling. We also see how there is so much instant judgment, right? So I would not say, you put out a message and there is a lot of trolling that happens. People don't think twice about being unkind on social media or about saying negative things on social media. They don't take the time to really get to know a person well. It's all very quick. I'm going to make up my mind about you in just this 1 second based on this one sentence that you've said. So while social media has great power, I really feel that the power of one-on-one human connection to make change is much stronger.
That means what you're saying is that there is no real way, one way for people in the newer generation be be more invested in animal welfare.
I think it's a mix of methods, right? I think we cannot depend on just one method. So, one method is social media campaigns, but the importance of, say, going to schools and getting children to really absorb this message of coexistence with animals at a very early age. That's hugely important. That's, very important work as well. And we actually don't have enough data to say which is moving the needle when it comes to the future of animals. But I think social media is one tool, but there are lots of other tools. I think getting young people to come and volunteer with animal protection organizations, getting them to take charge, campuses, college campuses. FIAPO has a partnership with LSR, for example, in Delhi, and there is an animal group on the campus in LSR. And we set this up about 6 years ago. And now the students take it forward independently. And in fact, the other day, one of the daughters of someone who works at FIAPO came and said they have 150 dogs on the campus and they've sterilized about 70 of those dogs. So I think there are different ways to reach out to young people, not just one way, which is social media, because social media also comes with its pitfalls.
Yeah. So, what would you say that some of the biggest victories have been at your time at FIAPO, whether it be campaigns or any outreach? What are some of the biggest victories that you and FIAPO have had together?
So I think that when I joined FIAPO, we were about 100 members strong. We now have 236 member organizations. So I think we are much more, we, we work well with, because I am genuinely interested in working with people. So I think the kind of relationships that we have built as an organization with other organizations in the system, I think that is a good. Uh, I wouldn't say it's not visibly a victory for animals, but ultimately it is indirectly a victory for animals, because if organizations and people collaborate, then animals will benefit. We have the this. we do a lot of court cases, and the courts have not been very kind to animals in recent years. So I would not say that we were one of the parties in the Jallikattu case to ban Jallikattu, Kambala, and bullock cart racing, and that was a case. Well, now Jallikattu, Kambala, and bullock cart racing are allowed again. Yeah, so it's not been a victory, but I think that we have learned lessons from even those fights on what not to do. We brought out a booklet on crimes against animals, and where we listed 4,93,910 crimes that had been committed against animals. And I think it's the first ever a compilation of reported crimes against animals. We also have now we have requested the National Crime Records Bureau to include in its records crimes against animals, because we feel that the crimes against animals are as important as crimes against people. So these are some important things that we are working on. Yeah, off the top of my head.
And would you say things like getting bureaus and getting courts to agree with what you're saying, would you consider those as challenges of working in the animal welfare movement?
It's a challenge of working with any movement, I think, but particularly because of the polarization in the country around animals, and where I think fundamentally the attitude of our society always has been that if somebody is not, it's very easy for us to say, oh, street dogs, they're a problem, let's remove them. But I really wonder, today it is street dogs, tomorrow who are you going to remove from the streets? So I really feel that the current times are very challenging for especially animal protection organizations, because we are so used as a society to see certain elements as commodities, as dispensable. So, oh, I don't like them, let's remove them. So I think this is a very deep challenge that we have to really come together to address. Um, yeah, so yes, it is a very challenging time, and it is not just an issue of society, of courts. It is an issue of, it's a societal issue where we see, I don't like somebody, let's remove them. That kind of an issue. Oh, I want my city to look pretty, so let's get rid of all the homeless people. It's a bit like saying that, right? So, who are you going to remove? So, unless we really look at the fundamentals of what our values are as a society, I think it's going to continue to be a challenge.
What do you think that members of the public who may be passionate in not just animal protection but any other movement, what do you think that they can do to support organizations who are working towards getting all of these injustices corrected so that
Mm.
animals and any other movement, all of them can have the freedom and have all their rights that they deserve?
Yeah, wow. Hopefully in my lifetime. So on I think it's two ways, right? I think animal protection organizations need to, as a movement, we need to stop working in silos. We need to engage much more with what the farmer is going through, what that person who does not have income security, who does not have food security. How do we work with that person? So I think as APOs, we have this responsibility to talk to organizations working on livelihoods, organizations working on climate change. Animal agriculture has such a close connection with climate change. And we need to talk to organizations working on the environment, because there is pollution from animal industries that causes an environmental issue. We need to be able to talk to health organizations. So yes, I think this is I think from on our part, this is what we need to do, is to not work in silos, but to have conversations, to have dialogue with other interlinked causes. But I think on the part of the public also, it's important to show up. It's important to move beyond prejudices of it's like it's never as simple as, oh, I like dogs or I don't like dogs. I mean, that is never the question, right? Um, the question is, if it's a living being, how can I coexist with this living being? So the public needs to show up when we are talking about animal rights, because today it's animals, tomorrow it's other marginalized communities. So we need to realize that we need to rise above our immediate likes and dislikes and really show up for other living beings. And I think when protests are held, when letters are written, everyone needs to show up. That's important.
So, how do you see animal protection progressing in India in the future? How do you think that all movements are gonna change as the world evolves? Because there's many things that are happening in the world, from technology to other conflicts. How do you think that those are going to affect and change animal protection and other movements?
Yeah. So I have a lot of hope, and my hope is because I really feel that Gen Z and Gen Alpha, your generation, uh, I think you have your heart in the right place, and you truly care about the planet. And this is of course, it's a huge generalization. Not everyone, cares about the planet in Gen Z or Gen Alpha, but at least I think because of the fact that the planet is hurtling towards a point of no return as far as climate change is concerned, there is a lot of concern about what is it that we are doing to the planet. And I think there is a certain mindful way of living that is there. So I really feel one of the important things for us to do is to increasingly involve young people in our work. And so that holds a huge hope for me, that because Gen Z and Gen Alpha are going to be responsible for the fate of animals for the rest of the century. So I'm really, really hopeful about that. The second thing that I really believe is that every movement has its moment. The 80s and the 90s were the 80s were the moment for the gender movement. The 90s and the 2000s, and now more recently the 2010s, were for LGBTQI movements. I really believe that 2020 onwards, even better, 2020 onwards, the moment for animal protection is right now, right here, because I think more and more people are part of it. We are part of a brand new exciting initiative called the India Karuna Collaborative, that is based on this belief that animal welfare is not just about animal welfare. When you do better for animals, then that is better for human health, that's better for the planet. And this collaborative has already brought together more than 45 organizations, and it has brought together more than 75 very, very significant business leaders who have signed a pledge saying that I believe that animal welfare, human health, and planetary health are very closely interlinked. And I pledge to do whatever I can to alleviate human suffering. And we are going to launch the India Karuna Collaborative at on in March. And I really believe that this kind of coming together of various organizations, of various causes, and talking to people uh, whose opinions can actually shift, then move the needle for animals, I think that is the way forward for us. So I really believe that we live in truly, it may seem on the one side that we live in truly terrible times for animals, but we also simultaneously live in truly momentous times for animals.
Yeah, I mean, I think that from all the people that I've interviewed as well, I mean, over the past more than 100 episodes. I've interviewed many people in the animal movement. And yeah, I think that many people have shared a similar view to what you said. I mean, I think many people acknowledge that things aren't right now in that in terms of welfare. So I think there are many people who know that there needs to be a big change. And yeah, I think I also share a similar view with you that yeah, I hope that animals end up getting the correct rights and that they have a good life.
Yes, I hope so too. Amen to that. But may I just say what a remarkable job you're doing, Vedant, because I really think that, taking this interest in sort of uncovering the stories of people who work for animals. I think you've done 100 interviews, is it? How
More,
many have you done?
I
More.
yeah,
That is so amazing. And I think that really tells me a lot about the kind of person you are.
thank you.
So I'm really, I have a lot of respect for what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I mean, I also respect you a lot for helping animals so much and everyone else in the animal movement. I mean, everyone plays a part and you're playing a pretty big part in the Indian animal movement.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being on my show. I learned so much talking to you and it was really amazing.
Likewise, it was very special for me as well. Thank you, Vedant.
Thank you. Dear listeners, follow my Facebook and Instagram page, Curious Vedanth, to get updates on my upcoming episodes. To listen at leisure on your phone and get notified about future episodes, subscribe by searching for Curious Vedanth wherever you get your podcasts, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube Podcasts, and many more. You can also listen to my show on curiousvedanth.com. Thank you for listening to Curious Vedanth and don't forget to rate and leave comments.